Hope everyone's ready for a big afternoon. We have a big afternoon ahead of us. Shh. We have got a special session now, which is with our changemakers. So we do this deliberately to show you that everything I'm sharing is not just what's happening around the world, and it's things that are happening right here in Melbourne. And you heard me at the beginning of the day say that Melbourne really is becoming the tech hub for all of Australia, and Australia is becoming the tech hub for really the whole Asia-Pacific region. So just knowing that that's the case, and the people we have coming up have all got a whole series of different businesses, but they're all navigating the waves in different ways. So if you find this sheet of paper, you should have this within your booklet. You can pull this out. And let me just give you a bit of a backgrounder of each of the people that are on here, starting with Karina and Stephen. So Karina, Stephen, Essa. Karina was with us in Brisbane. Her company, Social Media Worldwide, his company as well, is focusing at really supporting those companies who are looking for ways to really leverage. We talked about this morning and the kind of things we do with social media. This is all about understanding the right strategies, how to get the right teams together, how to grow that. But obviously it's moving so quickly, they'll have some of their own experiences to share about what they're seeing within that whole area of how you can actually get a great brand globally without having to go out and spend lots of money on advertising. So we're going to have them on stage here. We're going to have Gideon. Gideon Shelwick is someone who I know has been in similar circles to me for many years, and it was when I launched my YouTube channel a couple of years ago, and he posted a comment on there, and I then connected up with him, and then he supported us, first of all in the early days to kind of show us what he knew about YouTube, because he's one of the top experts on YouTube. He then also referred us onto someone called Daryl Eves, who then actually worked with us on our YouTube channel, and that's got up to, now we've got like, what, 1.8, 1.9 million views, about to hit 2 million on there, and that's really one of the leading entrepreneur YouTube channels now in the world. So if you haven't actually followed me on YouTube, you can go ahead and do that. But Gideon's going to be up here sharing his experience. And in the last year, he's been growing his business in some really interesting ways while also growing his family, because when he came out and saw us in Bali, he was one of our mentors in Bali. His wife was having a baby just at that moment. So you're going to be hearing about him and what he's doing. As you can see here, he's had over 17 million video ads served in the first 2 years of the new platform that he set up. So he'll tell a bit more about that, about the multiply side with V-Roll. We have Sue Papadoulis, who is not just one of our change makers here, she is also one of our sponsors. She's our platinum sponsor here. She's actually been instrumental in helping us get press in Australia. She knows how entrepreneurs should be getting their own brand set up, and then how the press works in such a way that if you don't have a newsworthy story, you don't really have a business yet. But how do you actually set that up for yourself, as opposed to just going and hiring a PR company and thinking somehow your brand is totally separate from the real story that you have to tell, how you bring all that together. So Sue, she was also in Brisbane with us, and so she is seasoned at being up here on stage and sharing her story. So you're going to hear from her here in Melbourne as well. And then we have Therese Kerr. And the last time I met Therese was 2 years ago, when she was just launching her new line, which you would have seen outside, Divine. Now, if you've heard of Miranda Kerr, Therese is Miranda's mother. And so Miranda Kerr has built a global identity for herself. And when I first met Therese, she had question marks as to how much is my brand linked to my daughter's brand? How much am I building my own brand? And the answer now has been built in her own Divine brand of cosmetics, which is all, if you've heard of The Honest Company, which is all about having things which are eco-friendly and things which are 100% natural. She goes one step further, where all of her cosmetics, you can eat it, right? It's that natural, it's that good for you, that basically everything that she has is 100% natural. It's now growing globally as well. And so she's come a long way in the last 2 years. What she's learned, how she learned it, you're going to hear it from her as well. Each has got a very different business. Each of them are surfing the same waves that I'm surfing and that you're surfing. So we're going to have an awesome time speaking up here, and you're going to have a chance to ask some questions as well. So can you please give our changemakers a big round of applause, and please come join us on stage. Come on up, come on up. All right. Keep the applause going. Keep the applause going. All right. Okay. Come on up. Choose your seat. Hey, Gideon. Good to see you. Welcome. Welcome to my office. Welcome to my office. Welcome. Grab a seat anywhere. Welcome. All right. Therese, grab a seat. And I'm going to start with just some questions, and then from there we'll start the conversation, right? So I am going to start with Gideon. So Gideon, we were just talking about it in the VIP room about this shift from content marketing to engagement marketing and then to experience marketing, and how that growth is happening. I'd love you to share, for anyone here who is interested in video, what you have seen as being the biggest shift on the internet towards more and more video content, or how important that is compared to just having a website? In your experience, how you've seen it grow in the last couple of years?
Yeah, so I've seen three really major trends. It started off with YouTube and the video thing, where you could upload video and really connect with your audience that way with pre-recorded content. So that was already pretty awesome. Then we started seeing other things like video advertising coming into it as well. So first you had this content strategy that you'd create video content, people would come to you, then you could do advertising with video ads to complement that strategy. The biggest trend that I'm seeing at the moment is with live video. I mean, even someone like Mark Zuckerberg, he's obsessed with live video, and you look at him even doing his own little live streams on Facebook. It's just incredible. And the key thing there throughout this whole journey has been to connect with your audience. So like Roger was talking about, you know, it's not so much about content anymore, it's now about engagement or connection. And, you know, through video, and especially live video, that I'm seeing is a huge trend, it's one of the best ways that I think you can connect and engage with your audience. And so through those mediums, we've been able to build our businesses now, you know, for the last decade or so, starting with that content marketing strategy with video, then complementing it with paid video advertising, and now getting into the live video streaming to take it to that extra level.
So you've got actually, well, Facebook is just the last 2 weeks that they've actually rolled out live video to anyone, anywhere. And if you take like companies like GoPro that have actually built their entire brand around making you the hero, what would you say to those in the room who would say, yeah, well, I get that's all happening, but I don't have a clear enough message yet, or I don't feel I'm not polished enough yet to do a video, and like how important is community, how important is brand, how important is having a story that you want to be sharing, and how important is it to do something as opposed to do nothing at all?
I think it's huge. You know, nowadays it's so easy to create content. It's really, you've got it in your pocket with your mobile phone, right? So if you've got a mobile phone with a good camera, you can create these live video experiences. It's not about the content anymore, it's about the experiences that you create. And so I think any of us can do that now. And one of the key things is that if it's too polished, in fact, it can actually count against you a bit. You look at some of the live streams from Mark Zuckerberg, and he's just there in his t-shirt walking around with, I'm assuming his little mobile phone, and creating that connection with his audience. Like within an hour, he's got 2 million views on that video. So if Mark Zuckerberg can do it in his little t-shirt, you know, and in his sort of geeky way, why can't we? I ran an experiment a couple of months ago where I did a live video stream on YouTube every single business day for about a month. And I learned a ton through going through that experience. One of the key things that I learned was that it wasn't so much about me and the content that I was creating. As I was doing this, I was building up a little mini community of engagement. And this community started sharing, this community started creating their own content. And every time we'd run this live event, I was just like the facilitator. And we created this really nice, valuable community of really engaged people. And for me, that's where the value lies now. It's not so much in the video content as much anymore. It's in helping build those communities, and then that community builds the value through you facilitating the whole process.
Cool. And my last question is one around something which a lot of, I know people in this room who have expertise in some area will kind of go down, which is like, say, I want to teach my expertise, right? And you started that way where it's like, all right, well, I've gone in and I've learned about YouTube early. I'm going to teach this in some way. So you had your video teaching it. And then every time I've seen someone take a particular thing, whether it's Facebook or whether it's Twitter or whether it's YouTube, and then teach it, at some point they get overtaken by all the noise in the market. And what you decided to do is, instead of going down a route where you just keep on doing that, you're actually creating a system where you're taking all your knowledge and putting it into a system where people then are going to be buying in that system, as opposed to spending all your time serving them. How, number one, has that played out for you? Has it been better than expected, not so good? And how have you done that while also bringing up another child who, which has its own challenges as well?
Well, bringing up children is kind of similar to bringing up a business, right? There's some similarities.
Keeps you up at night.
Yeah, right. I think for me to step back, which is about 3 or 4 years now ago, after building that personal brand and creating that content as a teacher, teaching people about video marketing, stepping back and then thinking about what is the bigger picture here? How can I build something that can grow independently of me, and how can I remove myself as the bottleneck in the business? So about 3 or 4 years ago, I started doing that. I created a business called Splashio. That was sort of the pre-runner for the latest business that I'm in called V-Roll. And there the emphasis has been on building the team. I teamed up with a development team in Singapore and been growing the team there with about 10 to 15 people of us at the moment, depending on when you're looking at us. Now it's not a matter of me and my knowledge anymore. It's now a matter of building the team. It's their knowledge, their experience that we're using to grow the value within the business, and then in a greater degree, the community that we're building around that. So I've taken sort of a back step. I'm still sometimes the face of the business, but that's, it's not required for the business. But through building that team and through building the platform, it's helped create something that's a lot more scalable and something that can fulfill a much bigger vision than what I was able to do 3 or 4 years ago with just a personal brand. But it's interesting, I've actually been on a journey, and so I've built these other brands now, but I'm going back towards a personal brand again as a way to build sort of like an umbrella brand over all my other brands. So the other brands are still there with their own leverage, but I've noticed that people want to connect with me. And so that's been quite an interesting observation over the last few years as well.
Yeah, how to do the multiply and magnify as well. And by the way, if you haven't looked at V-Roll, you totally should, because it was something that was part of Gideon trying to solve his own problem, which is, how do I make sure that if I'm going to go onto YouTube and I want to basically see, which are the main competitors for this particular video I'm going to put up, or if I want to use this tag, who's actually looking at all those other videos? And you can actually go put in any keyword, and it just brings you up all the top videos for that keyword. Like, it's pretty incredible what it gives you. And all of that means that you can then get much, much more targeted to the right people in the right way and see what they're doing, all the best guys, using the system, which is very cool. Okay, taking the family theme, I'm going to move on right now to Karina and Steve, and I'm going to ask both of you, you can choose who is going to answer the question. Before we get onto the business itself, what's the most challenging thing working as a couple together on your business?
I'd say that's before we actually discovered the profiles. What was the most challenging is that I didn't know that Stephen was a creator, and I didn't know that I was a mechanic. So the biggest challenge was that when Stephen would talk, he would just be downloading his ideas, and I would get anxiety trying to figure out how am I going to implement all this. And so we used to have debates, but not the debates you would think we'd have. It was more like Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump debates kind of things, right? And it's only until we discovered the profiles that we realized, okay, so you're a creator, that's why you're how you are, and I'm a mechanic, that's why I'm so great. So there you go.
Just to get the record straight, I never did a Donald Trump on Rosie O'Donnell. I never called her a pig, okay? I never said she's disgusting. I think I never did any of that. Even though I do have a Middle Eastern background, it does stereotypical things. I saw this happen growing up, but I never did that. Can you please confirm?
I confirm.
Thank you. Now, it's been an amazing journey. Thanks to Kevin O'Loughlin, first of all, who's in the audience here, who put us onto Roger. And as soon as we wanted to hire someone, we had him do the profiling test. And then when we did it, I realized I had all the people in the wrong positions, and they were all the people Karina was telling me to fire because they were hopeless. And they were friends and family and whatever. Karina didn't care. She was just like, nah, they're hopeless. Get rid of them. It's not working properly. And doing the whole profiling, it helped me to realize that I shouldn't be hiring people. So now Karina does that, and to be in a relationship, like for me, I was single when I started my business, and my friends and relatives used to say, when are you going to get married? And I said, when I meet the right person. I don't want to get married again if I get married. And my dad, he was dying for me to get married because he was dying, right? He had lung cancer and all this stuff. And he was pleading with me and trying to get me into an arranged marriage. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I was looking for someone who was going to be in the business with me because I love traveling, I love speaking, I love doing that. And I wanted to have someone on the journey with me. And I was looking up to Robert Kiyosaki and Kim Kiyosaki at the time, read all their books. And that's what I wanted. And I wasn't going to settle for just having a partner that was, not in the same industry or not interested in the same things. Because for me, I love my work. work, I love what I do, and it's my life. So so that was like a blessing when I met Karina in London, and her brother said, "Hey, she studied your course and made lots of money," and I was like going, "Can we get a coffee and talk about it?" And I found out she was single, and she showed me her PayPal account that there was money there, and then I was hooked. She showed me the 16 grand she made studying my course. I go, wow, a testimonial, and a really smart woman. So we got married 6 months later, and now she took over all the businesses. She does everything. She does the work of like 10 people. I just sit there and marvel at her. It takes me a day to write a blog post, and even then there's spelling mistakes, she tells me, and terrible grammar. And she says, "Where did you learn English?" And I go, it's an Australian thing. And she just does everything, so it's absolutely brilliant. And I think it's because that contrasting talent that we have, it works together. Now that we see what it is, and I don't get in her way, she doesn't get in my way, and it's fantastic. I think I would go broke if she left me now.
Well, I think that's one of the biggest things about like differences and just knowing when you actually are able to help each other to be who you're meant to be, then life gets a whole lot easier, right? So like just hearing what Gideon just shared about the shift, which has been massive within video. Social media includes video, includes everything. Now we're in a world today where more people are using Snapchat than using Facebook. More people are using Facebook Messenger than using Facebook every day. So given the shifts that you've seen, how has that changed what you've been doing? Where have you been caught short where it's like, wow, we didn't expect that to move that quickly? What have you had to do to kind of change the way that you're actually going out and providing your training right now?
Yes, before when social media just got started, anyone who would be on social media would somehow benefit from it, just from the exposure. But then as more and more people got on social media, it became really harder and harder for businesses to stand out from all that noise. And so when videos came along, a lot of people use video ads, but that also, people started experiencing ad fatigue. People didn't want to see videos that sounded just like press releases. And what we've noticed is that video has grown, but it's grown in a way where the popular videos are the ones that humanize the brand. So like you said, for example, videos of people behind the scenes, behind the business, in a casual environment, that's what people want to see. They don't want to see sales videos anymore on social media. They want to see casual videos where there's no marketing message or a very subtle marketing message. So what works right now on social media is video for sure, because there are rumors that Facebook wants to become the next YouTube, so they definitely give more benefits to people who post videos that are non-YouTube videos. And the videos that are doing really well are the ones that humanize the brand. So small footage of your customers or your staff or yourself if you're the face of the business. So that's the shift we've been experiencing on social media now. If you want to stand out from the noise as a business, you have to humanize your brand on social media. Show more of yourself, your staff, your customers. Let your customers and your staff tell the story of your business rather than you. And something else that has been emerging on social media is the people who are doing really well on social media are those who are part of a movement. And so you have to be somehow part of a movement. For example, Jamie Oliver. Jamie Oliver is not just a celebrity chef. He's also part of the movement where let's clean up what they feed our children at school movement. And that's why he's been so big and so big on social media. And all the brands that are also part of a movement do much better. For example, your brand, where you're like, let's tidy up what's all the chemicals in the products. That's a movement as well, and that's what stands out on social media, in a nutshell.
Very cool.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to take that and kind of come to you, Therese. I remember when we first met, you were telling the interesting story about how Miranda set up her own cosmetic brand, and you actually, together with your husband, were the ones really driving it and running it. And then talking about movement, there was something there where you think, no, actually, this isn't working out for me. I want to do this differently, which is a big step because you had her celebrity, you had the fact that all that was happening easily. Do you want to just share that whole shift, what it was that made you go, no, I have to do it this new way, the growing pains of the new way, and where that's now ended up like 2 years later?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. So I was the CEO of Cora. In 2001, I had tumours in my spleen and had to have my spleen removed. And that was a catalyst for us as a family learning about health. Most people wait for the aha moment and then they decide, I choose health. And I thought I was healthy. Clearly I wasn't. When we started Cora, we couldn't find, when I had tumours in my spleen, I couldn't find products that were healthy that actually worked. So that's when we started Cora. And then I was the CEO for 3 years and I said to Miranda, we can't stop at skincare. Skincare is only one section of the chemical burden that people are placing on their body every day. We need to do deodorant and hand sanitizer and hair care and baby products and men's products and age-defying skincare for the older woman, because Cora really covers that younger market. And Miranda said, well, Mum, I have contracts that prohibit me from doing that. I can't do that, those other products. And let's face it, toothpaste, oral care, deodorant isn't sexy. And my daughter is one of the supermodels around the world, and she didn't want it wasn't really fitting for her brand. But as a family in our entirety, it's we encompass every area of health. We even have 2 certified organic restaurants now, because our commitment to health and to bringing this message of wellness, because real wealth is your health. Without a doubt. Without health, you don't have true wealth. And that's what we're committed to, is educating and empowering. And you mentioned a movement. Our goal is to have people become part of a movement to transform health within one generation. That's our goal. The growing pains in regard to that transition, the media made it into a whole thing where, it's like we're mother and daughter fighting. Nothing could be further from the truth. We are as committed as a family. We talk every day and we embrace each other's desire to make a difference. And as a family, every member of our family is involved in some way in our business. And it's so beautiful to be that.
Let's take that whole thing about the media being, because this is one of the biggest challenges that I think a lot of us don't even get that challenge because we avoid it. We go, what if people kind of like say the wrong thing, or there's so much negativity, or there's a whole tall poppy syndrome that happens. And the media, not just Australian media, but all around the world, is notorious for looking for the negative or trying to create a story when there's not a story there. But we're living in a different world now where, while the media is doing, like in the past, it's true, the media could destroy you because there's no other way to get out to people except through the media. So if they're deciding to be negative, then how do you get past that? But now with social media, with everything else that's out there, that can shift it. So like, how's that, given that you had to get over that, what was the avenues you took? What were the ways you either created partnerships or built a brand around this that's allowed you to grow? And what's the end result? Like 2 years later, how is it all going?
Oh my goodness, it's very exciting. We never as a family take anything personally. We've learned not to do that, because you put your head above the crowd, you will get it knocked off, basically. Even so much as a family confidential, when we did that beautiful story, they turned it into a plea for Miranda to come home. It was never that. We were just being totally honest. We're a very open, honest family, totally honest in regard to the fact that, with celebrity as such at Miranda, where she is, you just don't see her as much as what you'd like. And we were just honest, saying it'd be lovely to see her a bit more. So they turned it into this whole thing. Ultimately, what we've done now, and you know what, you have to, it is what it is. You can't make it into something that it isn't. And with the media, basically, we don't take anything personally. We use social media to get our message across. I've just been awarded the Australian Organic Leader of the Year for 2015. I'm an ambassador for the Australian Organic Certified Organic organisation. I live and breathe this stuff because people don't realise that every day they place a chemical burden on their body. Knowing what I know now and having a public profile as a family, my children have benefited so much, and the best thing that ever happened to me was having tumours in my spleen, because my children have benefited so much in relation to health, and so many other people now, just by the fact of providing products that do not have any chemicals in them, that are certified organic to the highest level, that are antioxidant and nutrient rich. And companies can claim something's organic if it has one natural ingredient and it can contain literally hundreds of chemicals. Certified organic is the only guarantee for any person that those products won't contain the 8 classes of chemicals: endocrine disrupting chemicals, neurotoxins, immunotoxins, teratogens, reproductive development toxins, carcinogens. The FDA states that almost 1 in 5, the FDA in America, Food and Drug Administration, state that almost 1 in 5 cosmetics, and cosmetics is defined as skin, hair, beauty, personal, baby, oral care products, anything that you find in a cosmetic floor on a department store, 1 in 5 contain formaldehyde-releasing chemicals known to cause cancer. The cosmetics industry is self-regulating. The very people who make the products are the ones who determine whether or not the chemicals used in them are safe. And there's no pre-market or health testing done on any cosmetic product before you release it on the market, and that's shameful. As a public profile family, when I found that out, and I have no doubt that that was totally linked to the tumours in my spleen, I couldn't keep quiet about that. And my goal is to transform the wellness industry, or to transform the industry so that people actually know what they're putting on their skin. And I was voted last year as one of the top 50 most influential women in Australia as a result of the work that I'm doing. And, you know, I love what I do. I'm so passionate, and you can hear that in my voice. And we have babies being born with, on average, 200 synthetic chemicals in their little bodies now. And that's a test that's been undertaken by Sarah Lance at the Queensland University. She took newborn babies' umbilical cords, tested them, found on average 200 chemicals in their little bodies. So I work with professors all over the world now, and I do public speaking in regard to this. And I can educate you all you like, but unless you actually take action, what's the point? So it's about providing you with a solution. That's what we do. I can talk a lot. Just ask my husband.
So everyone gets Teresa's pretty passionate about this, right? Yeah. But you remember I said earlier about the difference of a teaching teacher and a leading learner, right? I mean, like, clearly you're keeping yourself up to date every day with what's happening. And this is the key thing, is that level of passion, and it's not passion for the company, it's passion for the movement. But having passion for the movement, which then reflects itself through the company, is really the key. Yeah.
My goal is to transform our goal. I get emotional about this, and there's things that are happening to our children. You only have to look at the infertility rate. 1 in 7 women are now infertile. You know, male semen quality has dropped 40%. Babies are being born with malformed genitalia because of estrogen dominance in the mums being passed down to their babies, because one of the fastest ways we detox as a woman is to have a baby. So I'm very passionate about this, so that we have the ability to transform health, but it happens at the ground roots. And if you don't know, then you don't know. So my goal is to educate and empower people on this subject.
Cool, thank you, Therese. Thank you. I'm going to come over to Sue. There's a bit of a theme here around individual empowerment and balancing that with leverage mechanisms. So media is a leverage mechanism. You can leverage through media. Celebrity does it really well, but it can also backfire as well. One of the things that you have really mastered is the ability for people to understand what is the value of having a story which is newsworthy. Do you want to share a bit about what you think's changed over the last 5 years, say, in terms of the strategies people have used to have PR compared to how you go about educating people today as to what they need to be doing to be able to be media friendly, but also to be authentic to who they are?
Yeah, sure. So there's been a whole lot of discussion on the panel just now about media, so that's really interesting. And you know, I think we've all heard Teresa's story about the issue with Miranda. I didn't know about the cancer. So I think there's an opportunity for you there to rewrite that story, and I'm sure there would be media who'd be interested in telling more of that story. And obviously it would come back again, the initial thing. But if there's a different side of the story, we've already heard one side of the story, you haven't heard the other side, and you've got such passion and knowledge that will eventually shine through, and it would, you know, you'd probably get well, exactly. So you'd get a different type of media. It was on the ABC, so you'd get Channel 7 or Channel 9 or Channel 10 willing to tell the other side of the story. So I'd say go for it. Don't try and keep your head down. Keep it up and be loud and proud, because...
Don't worry, I am.
Yeah, I can tell. So I think what we all resonated with Teresa's story was the authenticity with which she spoke with, and that's one of the big things about being in the media and getting successful publicity, is it's not about the faceless, nameless big corporation or a politician trying to spin a message anymore. I think we're all kind of over that, and the same as what you said with the videos, where we want to see real people. We want to interact, we want to know more about real people's stories, and that's what I'm seeing more and more focus on in the media, is an interest in the authenticity, like from small business owners, entrepreneurs, people who have something of value to share to other people. That is interesting to the media. So in terms of thinking about what your story might be, think about what the target market wants. So if you're wanting to get publicity on Sunrise, for example, think of who is their audience and what do you have to share that is of value to their audience. Rather than thinking about yourself and what you want to get out there, that is absolutely the wrong approach, and that is what I see most people going wrong with. They start thinking about themselves, and I have, you know, I'm running an event, or I'm launching a website, or I'm doing this project, or I'm me. No one's interested in that stuff, but if you can tell the audience something that's of interest to them, that is where the magic starts to happen. So, you know, Teresa's got so much amazing information there to talk about. The knowledge she has that would benefit the audience is immense. And the main target market of mass consumer media is women aged over 35. So I would suggest that's probably your market. So shows like Sunrise, they would love that kind of information. And given that you have a high profile already, it's just like it's a given that they'd be interested. So I think the main thing is the authenticity and the connection. And I think also, despite popular opinion, there is a shift happening in the media towards more positive stories. And that's kind of like my mission. I was a journalist for a long time, and I got very bogged down in the negativity of it, and to the point where I felt like, I can't do this for the rest of my life, just going over and over bad news all day, every day. It's a very negative environment to be in. So I did something about it and got out of it. But I always have wanted, even when I was a journalist, I tried to start a good news segment myself on radio, radio bulletins, and that got squashed by management. But, now I've turned that all around, and we're helping people get good stories out there into the media. And one of my trainers, one of my journalists on my team, I only employ journalists to train in our courses. She works for Sunrise, and she works for Today Tonight and Channel 7. And she was telling me that there's been a shift. There's been a real shift with the stories that they do. So, we've kind of seen the current affairs and the Today Tonights chasing people down the street with a microphone and doing the kind of hatchet jobs that we hear about. But Today Tonight in particular has stopped doing that because they're being forced to because of social media, so that they see that all their journalists are now having to post about this, clips of their videos, their stories online on social media, and then they see who's liked it, who's commented, who's shared it, and they can see there's a much greater sharing happening with positivity than negativity. So there is a movement. I think it'll take a bit longer than the next couple of years, but I think there's definitely a shift happening. And I'm more than happy. Yes, gentleman out the back is going, I heard you speak this morning. Yes, I'm more than happy to be a part of that and to empower people like you guys to share your good stories as well, because I know there is this movement towards good news stories.
Yeah, there's definitely some of the fastest media growing companies now are the social media companies, which
Yes.
are using like us as individuals as a distribution channel, right,
Yes.
by us sharing, as opposed to us just being the consumers of content, right? So I think that's where it gets really interesting, and you
Yeah.
actually see how much time they put into the videos they post, which are really interesting things that everyone wants to share.
Yep.
But this also impacts PR companies and advertising companies that in the past, their biggest value was the fact that they had access to media no one else had. They had relationships no one else had, so people would pay big bucks to PR companies and media companies to get the message out. How have you reorganized your own business and the way you do things to actually be able to focus more at this new way of doing things?
Yeah, so I used to have a PR consultancy. I left journalism and then I went to what I call the dark side of PR, and journalists really do look at PR people in that way. It's kind of like selling your soul to the devil. And I went off and did that, but I found it, pretty meaningless, and I kind of felt like I was just this go-between between my client and the journalist. And I would often think, gosh, wouldn't it be better if I just got out of the way and let the journalist speak to the person directly? And I actually thought, this is insane. Like, I don't even know why my clients are paying me, because they could do a better job than I could, because I didn't know their story as well as they did. So you guys all know your story much better than I do, and so you could do better with your PR than I could for you, absolutely, today. So I went off and did another online business to help women and start a home business, and out of that sprung what I do now, which is helping people do your own publicity without having to hire someone to do it for you. And we're the only company like it in Australia. I think there's one other in Spain, actually. And so I do, it does concern me. I mean, it doesn't really overly concern me, I guess, because PR people, there's huge fees, and no disrespect to any PR people in the room, but they're coming at it from a different perspective. They're not coming at it from what the media wants and how to communicate someone's story effectively. So we found this great niche where we help people do that themselves without having to, have a contact or know someone. If you've got a great story, that's all you need. You don't need to know anyone or do anything special.
And the key thing about that is that means you're building a skill set which is really about knowing the end user, the customer or the reader, right? So because when you know that and when you can help an entrepreneur to understand that, that doesn't just help them to get media, that helps them get new customers. It helps them to reorganize their own product range and their own messaging and their own story and everything so that it's integrated into one, which is a direct line into how am I actually delivering value to the world as well.
Yes, yes, and we find that all the time when people come to our courses. They go, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to rewrite my whole website now and everything I've ever done is round the wrong way. Because I think when you think promotion and marketing, you think about yourself. Whereas this is not about yourself, it's about the audience. So if you can get your message clear that what the audience wants and you know what they want, and you can verbalize it and you can talk about that as a story, then that is what flows through everything. And that is what we're talking about here, coming from probably a heart-centered place to reaching your customers. Because we all want to know, we don't want to do business with a big corporation. We want to do business with people who know us and we know them and there's a connection there. And that's how it's changing.
Awesome. All right. So look, it's very unusual to be able to have each of those who are here on the stage all together with this big chunk of expertise and knowledge. This is an opportunity for you to ask questions as well. So rather than us just jumping straight to the first people who've got questions, I want everyone to be thinking, what question would you have? If you were to ask a question of anyone up here, who would it be of? What would you want to ask? If it's a general question for everyone, that's valid too. Take a moment, turn to someone next to you and say, if you could ask one question which would make today worth it just from this little session, what would that question be? Who would it be to? Come up with something, and then we'll take a number of the questions. All right, give you a couple of minutes. But some of us find the answers, some of us don't. And I said, why is it that some people end up having questions and they get answered and then they move on and others, just never get them answered? And he goes, generally I found that in life, there's only one difference between the questions that get answered and the questions that don't, and that is the questions that get answered usually are the ones that get asked. So everyone here has questions, but we can only answer some of them, and they'll be the ones that get asked. So who would like to ask the first question? We have a hand up, went up really fast over there. The lady in the purple jacket. And do, when you share, stand up, share what your name is, and then who the question is for, and then you can jump into the question.
Hi, my name is Alpha, and my question is for you, Susan. I run a music entrepreneur program. I'm an artist myself, and I find that one of the biggest problems that a lot of artists has is in the PR space. We often can't afford to hire someone to do our publicity for us. So because you're into showing people how to do it for themselves, specifically for the music or the entertainment industry, what are some of the simplest and most valuable tips that you could share that I could potentially incorporate into what I'm sharing with other artists?
Sure. So just tell me quickly in a minute or two what exactly it is you do. You help people?
Yeah, so it's a music entrepreneur mentoring program. So it's a 12-week program where I show them very holistically, taking into account, them as a spiritual being as well, not just as an artist, and shows them how to set a goal that's in line with their long-term goals. So short-term goals leading up to the long-term goals.
Is that in business? So they're entrepreneurs. So
yep.
Is music helping them grow their business?
Yeah, so basically most artists that I work with only see themselves as this struggling artist, and so I help them to see that as a viable business as well, and to be able to make money through their art essentially and marry those two worlds together.
Okay. So you're helping them, showing them how to run a successful business as a performer?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, your stories are related to, all the things that you know that help people do that. So do they need to be better at performing? Probably not. Do they need to, why are most performers struggling, and break it down, and whatever that course focuses on. You said there was 12 modules. I would hazard a guess there's probably 12 media releases you could create on each one, which talk about the how-to. So not knowing what you know, it's difficult to say exactly what those stories are, but what I tell people usually is think about what is the how-to in your business, and what do you share with your clients in terms of how-to, and turn those into press releases. And I'm sure you probably also got some good human interest stories. Yep. So the performers themselves and where they were and where they've come to, or how they're amazing and they're not getting success. The media loves a good human interest story as well. So there's probably two main things. Okay. Have a look at the how-to, the stuff that you know, and look at the human interest side of it as well.
Cool, human interest, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah. That's awesome. So I spent 13 years in the music business in a death metal band in the Australian underground. I got into music at the worst time ever, when it was dying. And I never used to look like this, but we just started working with a client who was a band that we used to tour with years ago. We got him started with his webinars. He created a podcast called musicbusinessfacts.com, and you want to get interviewed by him because I think he'll promote you. And one really, really good way to get practice. Who's a bit scared to talk in the media, or if you got called by Sunrise, you would absolutely freak out and not feel like you're ready? Hands up. Okay, a lot of brave people here, that's good. So what I started doing about 18 months ago was I paid this lady called Jessica at interviewconnections.com. She's a lady in the US that books you to be interviewed on podcasts. There's 1 billion subscribers in iTunes. They all listen to podcasts, and you can get interviewed. They're looking for people to interview in your niches. So you go in there, you look for niches within your industry, say property investing or music or whatever, and you approach those podcast people who run shows, and you say, hey, can you interview me? And what they do at the end, every single one of them at the end says, how can people find out more about you? And then I always tell my students, hey, tell them about your webinar. Send them to your webinar for 2 reasons. One, you collect the name and email address of everyone who registers for your free webinar, which is the great thing. It's a great list building tool. The money's always in the list. You build that list, you build that community. And the second thing is you are able to educate them for 45 minutes, 50 minutes on a webinar, and then offer your product or service at the end, or offer them a way to connect with you through another product or some other event that you're running. And that helped me build a list of over 10,000 people in 12 months and generate $50,000 in sales. I had people who listened to my interview, registered for my webinar, watched it for 90 minutes and bought my $3,000 product. And there are people in America all over. So, and the other thing they do is they promote you all over their website, that podcast website. So that's a guy I know, people say there's no money in the music business. He made over $10,000 in his first webinar, doing education courses for musicians, and he's absolutely killing it. So he'd love to interview someone like yourself who's a bit on the other side as well. So it's a great way to practice. Get interviewed on podcasts, then by the time you get on TV, you're much more confident with your stuff as well.
All right, thank you. Okay. Let's take another question. We have a question from here. Jeremy, here comes the microphone. It's right behind you. All right.
Thank you. Jeremy Harris from Brisbane. Question for Gideon and maybe for Corinna and Stephen as well. Really interested in the shift from content to advertising to live stream. It's kind of a chicken and egg question, I guess. How many people to actually make live stream viable so that somebody turns up? Because it's so hard to get people to show up, even virtually, all together at the same time.
It depends at the moment on the platform that you're using. So it is a little bit platform dependent. For example, when I was doing it on YouTube a couple of months ago, it was really difficult just to use the YouTube ecosystem to build a live audience. In saying that, though, that'll likely change in a couple of months when they'll release their YouTube Connect mobile app, which will mean you can stream straight from YouTube from your mobile app through the YouTube platform, which is going to be, I think, is going to be a game changer. On Facebook, it seems a lot easier to build a live audience, even if you have a small audience. I have a Facebook fan page that I just set up a few years ago. Someone said, hey, you better create a page. I said, okay, I'll do it. And I just left it there. I didn't touch it. And until about a couple of months ago, I said, let me try this Facebook Live thing. I've only got like 2,000 people on there, right? So it's not a big number. But the key thing is that I didn't engage with that audience. So it's like a total new audience. Within 15 minutes, I had like 25 people watching. And so that was like, wow, okay, I didn't even know people watching there. So what I learned there was it's really platform dependent. Periscope, for example, is also very easy to build the audience. But for me, I think the two big horses to follow in the longer term is going to be Facebook and YouTube when it comes to live. I'd also want to add that it's, even though we've seen this progression of video content and video advertising and now live, it's not so much that it's changed and this new thing is here now and the old stuff's fallen away. It's now become more of a much more holistic thing. And you can use all three of those avenues to build an audience and to build connection with that audience. So you can think about a strategy where you regularly create pre-recorded video content on, say, your YouTube channel and your Facebook page, and then complement that content with a paid advertising strategy to grow that audience. Because it's, when you just do content, it can be quite a slow road. It might take you 6 months to a year to build a following. But if you complement that with advertising, you can grow that so much bigger. We ran an experiment, this was like a year and a half ago, where we sent traffic to just our YouTube channel page. And without optimizing our advertising or anything at all, it was just truly a real quick experiment. It lasted about 2 weeks. We doubled our daily subscription rate to our YouTube channel. It costed about 50 to 60 cents per subscriber. Our friend Daryl Eves, he reckons he can get it down to about 20 cents per subscriber. So what I'm saying is that if you have time, you can build up a big following with just video. If you complement that with paid, if you've got a bit of a budget, you can build it up much faster. And then if you want to put the cherry on the cake with connection and engagement, get into the live stuff, because I think that's where the magic happens. So you bring all these three things together, pre-recorded content with paid advertising and live through your mobile app, through these mobile apps, you've got a killer strategy for building a really awesome, big, worldwide, global, connected audience.
Well, one of you can take an addition to that, but just as an example, like when we went out to let people know about these events that we run, we only actually run 10 of them in the world, and that's because there's only so much time to run an event like this, and you've got to do all the organizing and everything like that. And so, even last year when we had a lot of people come through the event, we would have 200, 300, 400 people who would show up at an event, which means that over the year you got 3,000 or 4,000 people in total. When we went out this year and said we're going to be live streaming at the same time as actually doing the actual event, then it meant that, like, even today there are a lot more people watching on live this entire 2 days than are here in this room. We had over 4,000 people actually book seats, of which 80% of them are actually virtual seats to actually join us at these events here. So always know that we don't have to go and do separate extra things in addition just to reach the live audience. We can take whatever we're doing and make that live at the same time, and then you're reaching a global audience as well. So hi to everyone watching at the moment.
Yeah, I didn't know we're on TV. Hello. Hello. I think the number one thing, people get caught up with the video. They overcomplicate things. If you want to build a big community with video and with online and whatever niche you're in, I think the first thing you got to do is give generously, give great information, and be on target with what you're saying. I have a lot of people when I teach them to put together a webinar, because every business I start with a webinar, because I tell my students, if you can't sell me in 45 or 60 minutes, talking to me about your product or service, okay, then what chance do we have of putting text on a web page and selling me? So that's where I always begin every business with someone who's starting out. So I have them present me a webinar, whether they show their face or PowerPoint slides. That's really number one. And the biggest obstacle they have is they don't give much information and they start selling. They're trying to sell straight away. And that turns people off who's watching your video straight away. They can smell it a mile away and they don't like it. So the first thing you want to do is give loads of great information. And they say, but what if I give all my information? No one's going to buy my product. I said, the more you give away, the more you'll sell. Okay, try your best to give away for 45 minutes or 60 minutes your best material ever. You'll have people forwarding it to other people who then all of a sudden are joining your live shows and registering for your stuff, because word is out that you're giving the best information out there. And when I got started, that's all I did. I used webinars because you couldn't really show your face because the internet wasn't really that good. We just had PowerPoint. I started interviewing people, making it free every week, live on a webinar. People would register, so I catch names and emails, and then interview different experts and aim to give the best information possible, and then record those, automate those, send them out again, and people were. That's how I built my list in the beginning, is just by giving great information. So, initially it is hard to get started if you don't have a database, but put together your material, get your messaging right, get your conversion. You only need 10 people there to figure out if you can sell something. If you're doing a webinar where you're selling something, which I recommend everybody does, because those of us who can master speaking and selling on video in the future will rule the internet, because video, as Gideon said, it's taking over. I mean, the internet speed, by the time Australia gets around to speeding us up with internet, I mean, we're way behind. It's ridiculous here. They talk about this innovation age and whatever. It's like, fix the bloody internet first and then we'll talk about innovation, It's ridiculous how slow the internet is here, how we are trying to work, and Gideon, I'm sure you know, trying to upload a video where you've spoken for an hour is damn near impossible. You've got to go and make 10 cups of coffee, take the kids for a walk, mow the grass, and come back, and maybe it's uploaded or it's crashed on the way of uploading. We're not going to have those issues in the future. So now's the time to really start to master getting yourself on camera and just give great information. Doesn't have to be fancy, because because people aren't coming to look at you. They're coming because they've got a problem, and if you can solve their problem, then your business will grow. The word will get out there. And then if you apply the strategies that Gideon's teaching, that everyone else is teaching, that Sue's talking about, and use the publicity, then now you've got something that's going to convert when you get people there. But that's the most important thing, is give great information, and everything else will look after itself.
Steve, Karina was saying that you've had a lot of coffee today. You're
Just a short black.
You're on fire. Okay, let's take final question. We have a gentleman with a hand up over there. So we'll come over to this question.
Hi. My question is...
Could you stand up and let us know who
yes.
you are first? And yeah.
Hi, I'm James.
Hi, James.
Hey, so my question's a little bit more vague. It's for Teresa. And I first of all, got a lot out of each one of you and what you had to say, but particularly with you, Teresa, a lot of that struck a chord with me, because in the last year, I've really kind of been waking up to what health and what I'm putting into my body through nutrition and products and cosmetics as well. But I'm in that kind of infancy stage where there's this huge wealth of information. People are saying, oh, this is bad for you, or that's bad for you, or this is good for you, or actually, no, that's terrible. And it's kind of all overwhelming. And the question could even be expanded to just knowledge in general. How have you navigated in a world that we have the internet with, there's millions of experts about everything? How do you navigate knowledge and separating truth from fiction and working out what works for you? That could be related to health, that could relate to business or anything. So yeah, I'm so curious about that.
Thank you so much for your question, James. And that's a really good question, because I speak all the time, and then people are like, I ask people how they're feeling, and it's like overwhelmed or, angry about how the cosmetics industry works. I personally take a holistic approach to health. It's not just about what I put on my skin, it's every aspect of my life. It's what I'm putting in my body, it's my spirituality, it's my meditation. I meditate every day. I am not the same person I was when I had tumours in my spleen. I'm a totally different person. I've researched and acquired this knowledge and been a sponge for information, and that's what, as I stated, my first statement was that our health is our greatest wealth. And if we're not dedicated to that, what the hell are we doing it all for? We really need to nurture our bodies and educate ourselves. Now, there is a minefield of stuff out there. And, I'm not saying I have all the answers whatsoever, but we have blogs where we interview people in every area of health and wellness. And it's nutrition, it's about making healthy food, it's about the importance of understanding what you're putting on your skin, that 60% on average will go into your bloodstream immediately, and that our skin will absorb chemicals up to 10 times quicker than by way of ingestion. That's because our skin doesn't have digestive enzymes. So it's this sort of information that you can access through our blog, and it's about providing you, as I said, our goal is to transform health within one generation. We can't do that by just telling you about what you're putting on your skin. It's about every aspect of health, and it's, email us, come and be part of our VIP program. I will put you on to other people. You can do your own individual work, that's fine, but I did that, and it's a long, arduous process. So when you have, I guess, as a family, we're dedicated to providing this information for you in every aspect. So come to our blog, and as I said, I can put you on to other people where you can learn so much. In wellness, there's this network of amazing people who are so dedicated to giving you this information, and it's just about accessing it and knowing where to access it, and I can certainly help you with that. The other thing I wanted to do is, for everyone here, I wanted to give them a special certified organic gift, just to say thank you for being here and to have you actually understand certified organic. So the either a mouth rinse or a hand sanitizer, because hand sanitizers are so poisonous to our bodies, yet we're putting them on our bodies every day. So I've got a form outside, but if you want that, you can fill in and just join our VIP, and then I'll give you that as well, which I'm very excited to do.
Awesome. Sounds good, right? Thank you. Thank you. And by the way, there's, you'll notice at all the booths outside that there are a lot of the people that support us. There are a number of our change makers. I know Sue's also got a really, really generous offer that she's giving to really get some PR and media support. Therese has got an amazing booth out there, and there's a number of others you'll see out there as well, which definitely you should go and check out, because we don't bring anyone into this environment who we don't really believe 100% is going to make a massive difference to what you do as well. And I think that partly, the way you answered that is a really important thing. It's like, how do you know who to follow, who not to follow? There are lines of trust that happen within communities. There is, to the point that Sue was making about, this whole thing about what point does the media actually change from saying nasty things about you to actually saying, actually, that's not working anymore, let's actually be supportive. And that is really that critical mass of support that people get when they're consistently saying the same message again and again and again, and then you know who those people are. And the more you find the people you trust, and then say who do they trust, the easier it gets to go through all that noise and get down to the 3 or 4 or 5 key people that actually are the ones that you should be following based on what you really believe in and the mission and the movement that you're on as well, right? So before we finish, I just thought of this because we've been talking a lot about video. Hands up, who's ever watched any of my YouTube videos? Okay, all right. So why don't we do this? Why don't we actually make a YouTube video right now with the last question that we're going to ask, and you're going to be participants in this as well. And this will be up by tomorrow, so you'll be able to go and have a look at it and be part of it. And we're going to put our changemakers on the spot by being on video with me. And so, are you guys ready for this? Yep. All right. Are you guys ready for this? Okay, we're going to need to do this with a little bit of, it's going to be a bit of an interactive thing. So for everyone here, let's do this. And by the way, if you ever wondered how I do my videos, I just do it like this. Gideon would be going, where's your selfie stick, right? Because he's always said I need to have a stabilizer because my stuff is too shaky.
I actually gave Roger one and
he actually did give me one as well. The dog ate it. But I actually did get, I do have it. It's pretty awesome. But this, and it's called Eye Stabilizer, right? If you need a selfie stick, it's called Eye Stabilizer, which is really good. My hand is kind of long, so I can get a pretty good view here as well. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this in such a way, I'm going to look for your kind of like applause and noise and everything to be on this as well. So here we go. I'm just going to kick it off and say, hi, it's Roger here, and I'm here in Melbourne with a whole group of entrepreneurs. Can everyone give a big round of applause? And I've done a few of these up on stage when I'm on stage, but I'm actually here with our changemakers here. Hi, guys. Hi, guys. So, so I'm going to come and sit over here next to Therese, and we're going to answer a particular question which I've just seen, because we've just done a whole Q&A, and I deliberately choose changemakers who are successful in their own right. They've had their own ups and downs, as we all have, who are Melbourne-based, Australian-based, and we have had a conversation largely around videos. That's why we thought, let's do this video. And the question I want to ask is around the link between using video as a medium. That means you've got to be very articulate, right? I mean, Stephen was talking about webinars over 45 minutes, but if you're going to do one within 10 minutes or 5 minutes, how do you become really articulate? And secondly, how does that link with your personal brand as to who you are consistently, and how does that link with your story? Right? It's like, because I think at the end of the day, it really is all about storytelling. So I've got a question, which is for anyone who's watching this video, or anyone who's in the audience right now, if they're there thinking, I want everything I do to be consistent in some way, to get a message of some sort across, but how do I actually get clear on my story, and how do I get clear on what my personal brand is, which makes me unique? I'm going to start with Therese. I'll ask it a slightly different way with each. You found that you just told the story about your daughter Miranda and yourself, and how some of the things that you believed was important in the story didn't fit her brand necessarily, as like a glamour model, as someone who was focusing on certain things which didn't include toothpaste and other things. But you then said, but that's who I am, which meant you had to build your own personal brand separate from the personal brand that she had, right?
Yes.
So what would you say for anyone who's here is the best way for them to do that? What did you go through to build that personal brand, which has now allowed Divine to be its own product brand?
Yep. So in answer to your question, I just chose to be really and authentic, real and authentic in who I was as such. And I'm dedicated to, and you've heard me say it, the health of everyone. And I don't want people to have the aha moment that I had. And as a result of that, when Miranda said she only wanted to do skincare, I couldn't just stop, knowing that the chemicals are in our deodorant, in our toothpaste that you're putting in your mouth, that are in your hair care, in our baby products, for goodness sakes, chemicals that are untested. I couldn't stop at that. So the whole transition was just being real, getting back to what really mattered to me, that I could hopefully, through our family, impact the world in a better way, to make a difference and to change health.
So that we had that as part of the conversation earlier, where you were sharing your story of what happened to you, where you had cancer, where you shared that, tumors in the spleen, where you recovered from that?
Yeah, totally.
Totally recovered?
I'm the healthiest I've ever been in my life. I could run a marathon, I feel like I'm 20, and that's because I choose health every day.
Okay, so Divine was a reaction almost to that, to say, let's actually have healthy products. Sue, you then mentioned something, which was how much, even though you know of Therese, that story you'd never heard of before, how that's then actually kind of spurred in you, like, hey, bring that even more into the story so that it's visible to everyone, right?
Yes, absolutely, yeah. So, I mean, to me, the resonance you have with everyone in the room is a result of revealing your truth. It's cozy now on the couch.
Yeah, that's good, right? I've got Gideon next to me here as well.
So yeah, Therese was willing to be open and honest and reveal something that was very personal to her, and I think that's what people love. And so yeah, I think you have an opportunity to rewrite or put an additional message out there into the media about who you are and what the message is. And as long as you're consistent with that, as long as we're all consistent with the same message over and over again, it'll eventually cut through. And I would also say, own it. Own whatever you are, whoever you are, own it. Don't be thinking, oh, I might not be qualified, or I don't have the piece of paper that says I can be a nutritionist or whatever. I often get people say that to me, or how I'm a bit scared if someone finds out that I don't have enough years of experience or something along those lines. And I just say, just own it. Just be 100% you, because no one, if you're running in fear of someone finding something out about you, then that's the worst place to be. So be honest and just say, look, while I may not have the fancy piece of paper, I've seen 100 people in the last week and they all have this, this and this, and I can tell you those people respond to this, this and this. So just own.
Well, a lot of people, they edit their story because they worry that people will look at them bad if they knew all the bad stuff. So as a result, they try and edit and create like, here's the good bits of who I am.
Yes.
What you heard with Therese, and I think we've all had dark moments, tough moments. How important do you think it is that our toughest moments almost should be a part of our story?
I think there's immense power in vulnerability. There is immense power in vulnerability, and that's been part of my journey in the last 5 or 6 years, is getting over, and I think it probably comes from me being a journalist where it is meant to be on the surface and people aren't meant to know what goes on behind the scenes. But I've realised that when you are willing to be honest and completely honest, it gives a space for other people to do the same, and then they grow as a result. So yeah, we've all had ups and downs, and I would say, just be willing to be vulnerable, and sharing, whenever I share a mistake I've made or a fear I've had or something, it's those things that people come up to me and go, oh, I'm so glad you told me that, because now I feel so much better. You are just like me, or whatever that is, and there's a lot of power in that.
So it's all about empathy and connecting with that point with the people that you're working with, whatever the movement. We're talking about movement, we'll come back to that in a moment. And path, I'm going to come over to Gideon. Gideon's here. Gideon, I give Gideon a lot of credit for the way we've built our YouTube channel. If you were having someone getting courageous enough to say, right, I'm ready to get my story out there, or I'm ready to get my message out there in videos, what would be the top 2 or 3 tips you'd give someone to create the right kind of authentic videos, not polished, but the kind of ones that people get most attracted to?
Right, I think that there's 2 main things, I guess. The first one is to be authentic, like Therese was saying, but then the question is, how on earth do you be authentic? And the answer would be, you just be yourself, right? But then the question is, how do you just be yourself? And that's one of the hardest things, I think, that we have as human beings, is to be ourselves, because we've been so conditioned to be something else that everyone else thinks we should be, or that all the expectations around us. So we have this problem. We have to be authentic on video, which just means we have to be ourselves, but we don't know how. So how do you be yourself? So I think the answer to that for me has certainly been to follow advice from Roger, but also someone like Joseph Campbell from The Hero's Journey. He talks about following your bliss, which is all about following those things that truly interest you and being on your path and being in flow. When you follow your bliss, when you're in flow, by definition, you become yourself. And naturally, you just act like yourself. And I think that's how you become authentic, by following your bliss. So that's the first thing. That's how you do it. That's all cool, though, being yourself. But then there's other thing, this massive thing in the way, which is fear. Fear of being on camera. And I'm not sure about you guys. I mean, even myself here, I was kind of fine sitting here on stage, talking in front of, 300 people. I mean, Roger turns the camera on, and then all of a sudden, something changes. So what happens when that little red dot starts flickering is this fear response kick.
You do realize we've actually had a 360 camera right in the center there watching everyone this whole time as well. So
Right, yeah. But as soon as you realize you're going to be on camera, then this fear response kicks in. So how do you deal with that? Well, there's a couple of things you can do. First of all, when we see ourselves on video, we have this assumption that millions of people are going to see us. Well, it could possibly happen, but in general it doesn't. But there's this other thing that also happens is that when we see ourselves on video, it's not actually the picture that's inside of our heads of how we see ourselves. Do you know the reason for that? So, when do you see yourself the most often? Roger?
Mirror?
Mirror, right? Yeah, you see yourself in the mirror most often. And so, by definition, that's actually a mirror image of you. It's not actually the real image of you, right? And most of our faces, unless you're a supermodel, are not symmetric. So when you flick it, it looks different. You should try this, actually, if you haven't yet. Take a picture of yourself and flick it around, and you sort of look a bit funny to yourself. You could even divide your face up into two halves and then copy those halves and then put the two left-hand halves together and the two right-hand halves together, and you'll have two different faces of yourself. And that'll give you a really true appreciation
Have you done this, Gideon?
I have.
You should create a little software thing that does this.
Yeah, I have. It's actually, some people think it's one version is
Right.
your feminine self, and the other one is your masculine self. And it's quite uncanny when you do that. But it shows you how different the pictures are in our minds of what you actually look like. So when you see yourself on camera, it's actually different to how you normally see yourself. So when you see yourself on camera, your subconscious mind freaks out. You go, hey, hang on, that's not what I look like. My ear is not kind of like positioned that way, or my eyebrows, there's something off there, but you don't know quite what it is. And it's because the image in the video is a flipped image compared to what's inside your head. And the same with the audio. The way you sound to yourself on the camera sounds out of whack. But yet when you ask your friends, they go, no, you sound like that. But to yourself, it sounds weird. And because the sound, when it travels from our mouth to our ears, it actually goes through our heads and through our blood and bone and everything to get to our eardrums, and also through the air. But when everyone else hears you, it just goes through the air. So the way to fix that is to basically just record yourself and then watch yourself and listen to yourself over and over and reset your subconscious mind so that you can actually accept yourself. And that can do a lot for breaking down that fear of being on camera, because once you accept yourself for what you sound like and look like on camera, those fear barriers start going down, and you can get the courage to get yourself up onto that video and become the next Facebook and YouTube superstar.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Gideon. Let's finish off with Stephen and Corinne here. Which of you would like to share? I'm going to sit next to Sue here. My final question is, again, story-wise, and I'd love for you to share a little bit more about movement, what you see as being the easiest way to get connected into the right movement when you know you've got a story and you know it connects in with others that have a similar movement as well. And I'd love to hear just from your side, how do you make that then uniquely different so that you stand out, you'll play in the team as opposed to trying to be the same as everyone else within that movement as well. Would you like to share first of all, Corinne, on the whole movement?
Sure.
side?
I mean, when I say be part of a movement, I don't want people to start being part of a movement because that's going to make them popular. You really have to be passionate about something, and you're passionate when something really moves you, either makes you really happy when good news about it is shared, or really, really upset. So for me, for example, fostering, I used to drive all the way to Brisbane to train my sales team, and I would see these billboards about foster care, and it would make me really, really upset that there was a shortage in foster families, and I realized, wow, why is this making me really angry? Maybe I should do something about it. So it's really important to not just be part of any movement, but be part of a movement that really, really moves you, or really makes you angry when something happening around it. So it's not just about being part of any movement just for PR sake. I want to make this really, really clear. And everyone has something that makes them really, really angry. It could be animal cruelty, it could be anything. And something that makes them really, really happy. And that's your cue. And when that happens, well, I can contribute, I can be part of that movement and change something about it.
I really liked, for any of you who've watched Elon Musk as he launched the Tesla 3, the first half an hour before he even brought out the car was all talking about how passionate he was about the environment and about how much fossil fuels were impacting the environment. And then it was after really bringing out the big why, he then launched the car after that. And the car was just the response to that as opposed to the car being the main thing. And we heard from Therese earlier about how passionate she is about her movement. What would you say, Stephen, when someone has identified that wave, because the movement's really a human wave, it's a human wave of people that are all heading in the right direction. When you've identified that movement, and then you still want to be able to stand out, not in a way that you're competing with everyone in that movement, but that you become like the #1 chosen collaborator to the people around you. What's one way that you've seen the people you've worked with do that really well?
I think there's a guy that comes to mind recently, Dylan. He was a Forex trader originally, but he started making a lot of money for himself, but then he went to, I think it was Africa or India or somewhere, and he saw a lot of poverty, and he basically gave all his wealth away, and then went back to the UK, and he was broke, and he wanted to keep helping, but he realised that, hey, I don't have any more money to give. So he started building a business, but he built it in the beginning and always as giving a percentage of the profits. This is very common. We see like a lot of people say, oh, 10% of this goes to whatever, but every single different cause that he helps, he attaches that and makes that his mission, because money doesn't motivate him. He's actually driven by helping people. And when he came to Australia recently, because he was actually one of the random people we picked out of the crowd to build a business for him on stage, and we launched him, and he made a bunch of money. And what was amazing was people came up to him at the end, because during the webinar he shared his story and the reason why he was doing it, and we created this Forex product for him that he sold, and he was going to make it after. People came up, and he said this at our event in the Gold Coast. He goes, people came up to me and he goes, we're not even interested in Forex. We bought your product because we love what you're doing and we want to be part of what you're doing. And, we aren't not interested in Forex at all. He goes, but we more bought for you and we want to be part of what you're doing. And if we need to learn Forex so we can help people more as a strategy, then that's great. And, when he was telling this story, I mean, the audience was in tears, at my event. And it just really illustrated the importance, for many of us. For me, money is not my #1 motivation. It's helping people to become financially free, to get out of the rat race so they don't struggle, and that's my goal. And, Karina, a year ago, said, what do you want to achieve now? I said, I don't know, I just want to do nothing, because I don't have another mission. I don't have I've helped people, I've done it. And really, she realised that I need a new cause. I need something, and that's why we started looking at fostering. And in fact, they're coming out this Thursday to look at our place to make sure it's suitable. I'm putting all my death metal pictures away, and for me that's very motivating. And we'll look for ways that we can promote more of that through our businesses, through our networks. Again, the intention has to be right. It's not we're doing it for publicity, but I think it's a byproduct of doing it. So I think karma comes around, and when you're doing the right thing, when you're helping, then it can benefit your business as well as a byproduct of that.
Awesome. Very cool. All right. Well, I just want to say thank you to each of you for sharing that. We're going to finish this video, then we're going to wrap it up in here. But could we please give them a big round of applause for their sharing? Thank you, guys. Thank you. And there's a little video. We'll post that. I think it's really interesting how that whole conversation just got deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. So you're going to be fostering. That's awesome. If they accept us. If they accept us. Of course they'll accept you. Do you think they would make an awesome foster parents? All right. Okay, so let's give everyone on stage a chance to just share what's one final nugget to leave you with. Let's start with Gideon. If you were to share one thing for everybody, what would it be, Gideon?
Good question. I think we live in a truly amazing time where you could be anywhere that has an internet connection, either mobile or through a connection, physical connection, and communicate with anybody en masse. En masse. Anybody on earth that has access to internet, you can communicate with them and influence them and build a community. I mean, that just blows my mind. And, what we're talking about with exponential stuff, how this just grows exponentially, it seems like we're still at the beginning. So, with your phone in your hand and with the internet connection that you have with that and the camera that comes with it, you can become an incredible influencer and connect with people and make the world a better place. So if you have any fear in doing this, I'd suggest just, to build up that courage and push through it and do it, experiment with it, just play around with it and learn from it and take this opportunity for what it is. That's my message.
Cool. All right. Thank you.
So, a similar thing actually, I'm talking about what I find a lot of people say to me is they have this limiting belief and I can't do it and I could never be on Sunrise or whatever that is. And I just always encourage people to think that you have a responsibility. So you have a responsibility to help more people. It's actually not about you in any way, shape or form. It's about what you know that can help other people, and other people need to know about it. So if you get over yourself and realise it's actually not about you, it's about how you help other people, that is where the magic starts to happen, both in the customers that you get and the potential for you to be in the media. One of the quickest and easiest ways to get your message out is to be in the media. So rather than thinking, oh, I'm scared about doing the interview or whatever that is, think about all the people that need to know what you know. And you're doing them a disservice by playing small and keeping yourself hidden away from the spotlight. So my message is get over yourself and get out there and do it.
I think like any of us who are trying to build a business, the number one most important thing is building your list. You have to build that email list. Email is a way to communicate instantly. Like we can put out a webinar tomorrow at the last minute with something that's changing in our industry and we can have 500 people, 1,000 people show up. And that's the power of an email list. It gives you a lot of power to joint venture with other people who want to work with you if you've got a list, a community. So those of us that have that community, we need to get it on email first. And a strategy that we used to use was Facebook ads until all of our ads got shut down. All of our accounts, they did a massive clean out. Did anyone get shut down in the last 6 months from Facebook? Yeah. I had my sister's account shut down, my uncle's account shut down, my account shut down, my friend, and they all got shut down, and we had to reevaluate the way we were doing it. And we recently started up again with a celebrity. Karina came up with the idea of bringing a celebrity out, an economist, Harry Dent, who's predicting the greatest depression of all coming soon. It's a bit doom and gloom, unlike your happy stories. So we're not putting him in the media. But basically, we started doing Facebook ads for him. We borrowed another account, and we started up again. And what happened was amazing. All of a sudden, it was costing me, when I was doing it, about $70 per email address to get people to register. What we found with him, it was $11 because we had a celebrity there, and that's what we put it down to. Wow. And then one of my guys that was working on the campaign said, hey, look how many people are clicking on our ad, and then they're going to our registration page or our website, and they're not registering. He said, we're losing too many. He said, is there a way that we can actually get them to click on the ad and register straight away without going to your website? So he researched and he found this software called leadstunnel.com. I think it's $67. So leadstunnel.com basically allows you to integrate into your Facebook ad. So as soon as they click on your ad, a box appears and they put their name and email address. It saves you all the traffic that you're losing by going to that. And he got it down to $5 or $6 per name and email address. And I thought that was amazing. So we're always sharing the latest things that are working. That's what's working for us. Two things: a celebrity, bringing a celebrity in. We've doubled one of our business databases. We have 3 companies. We doubled my business partner's database with this. Spent about $13,000. Took his email database from 3,000 to over 6,000 subscribers thanks to this expert. So, and we also have free tickets. If anyone wants a free ticket, it's in Melbourne. Secure the Future. Harry Dent is coming out to Australia. So we've got free tickets out there. Just fill that in. But celebrity's great. And, we could spend, a lot more money trying to build my profile and get me out there, but a celebrity is going to, absolutely 10 times cheaper. So that's what we've been experimenting with. So try that out.
I have to clap for my husband or else I have to sleep on the couch. So, I'm joking, of course. For me, my advice would be, I found that one of the companies we run started doing much better, and we started having leads coming in rather than us fishing for sales and leads. more when we started putting content out there that didn't have a gate, where in order for them to access the content, they didn't have to submit anything. And I think we're seeing a trend where people, before they even consider submitting their email, even a fake email, they want to see content that doesn't have a gate. So use the 80-20 rule. 80% give out a lot of content. Don't gate your content with opt-in pages. And you'll find that regardless of whether you're putting an email gate, I guess, you'll start having much more traffic, you'll start benefiting from much more leads and many more referrals. So I think that's the trend we've seen and that I've experienced. More content out there, 80% content, 20% sales, and not gated content. That would be my tip.
I've got one more.
Use that one, yeah.
Thank you, Madame. My tip is really for each and every person here to get committed to their own health, but also the health of our environment and also the health of future generations. We have a society which is currently experiencing an epidemic of illness. There's thyroid challenges. 1 in 7 women now are considered infertile. We have massive, massive challenges. 70% of women have some hormone-related disorder. And I think when we actually realise that what we do to ourselves, we ultimately do to our planet, through what we're washing down our drains, the pesticides, insecticides, educate yourself and empower yourself, because real change will happen when we cause it to change. Real change will happen when companies will stop using pesticides or insecticides when we start buying certified organic produce that is supporting, not hindering our planet, and or using products that are supporting and not hindering our bodies. And that's what happened in America. Mums actually stopped buying baby bottles that contain BPA. And what happened? The companies actually stopped making them. They didn't have a market anymore. I believe, and no disrespect to the beautiful men in this room, but I believe Western women, and I say Western women because we have the purchasing powerhouse of the world. We will transform the world through our purchases and through our compassion and through the fact that we can cause major companies to stop making products that are impacting our future and the future of generations. And that's my request of all of you. Thank you.
Have you enjoyed this session? Can you please join me in giving our Changemakers a huge round of applause for this session? Thank you, guys. Thank you. Take a moment. You'll have a chance in the breaks and so on to meet with the Changemakers as well, but take a moment and turn to someone next to you and say, what was the biggest number one thing that was your biggest takeaway from that session, right? Have a conversation, and then we'll be ready to go again.